Hello everyone and welcome back to my official The GH24 News YouTube channel. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Before we begin, hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Cyrus Renault's sweepstakes with Elizabeth Baldwin during the Wednesday was both engaging and nipping, leaving suckers feeling like actor Jeff Kober deserves a Daytime Emmy nomination at the veritably least after all this. During a heated discussion, which led to his full concession, Cyrus was on the verge of attacking Elizabeth to close any gaps in his charge to carry out God's godly plan. Lucky for Liz, Spencer came by and saved her from a fatal digitalis injection, only for him to suffer one himself. Lucky will probably be okay, but what about Josslyn Jax? She left her shift at Bobby's fairly snappily to head over to Cyrus' nest, Austin Gatlin, Holt's old cabin. In what's likely not a coexistence, Brennan ended his Valentine's Day date with Carly Spencer presto as well after he got an important communication and had to leave for work. GH suckers know from this week's exercise that Cyrus will catch Josslyn at the cabin, and as his plan is worsening, he'll be ready to take some further residers of Port Charles out, all in trouble to keep his charge complete. Still, it's important to flash back that the daily promo videotape also reveals gunshots at the end. Suckers have known for a while that he's the one behind Sam McCall's demise, and now they know the why behind it all. He'll likely pass down in a blaze of chaos. Still, Cyrus will probably have one last battle with Josslyn, one last dread jump for observers, as he tries to attack the youthful woman. With that said, as she's not a trained WSB agent, just yet, she'll need some back-over. This is where Brennan comes by. He took a vault of faith, by trying to see how far Joss could go with the breadcrumbs he'd been leaving about Cyrus. But, Josslyn is only a mercenary, she happens to be his girl confidante's son, so he's also been having her followed, for her own protection. Brennan likely got a communication about her being at the cabin and jumped into action. Will the WSB agent be the one to swing in and save the day for her when Cyrus attacks? Will he be the one to shoot the felonious down and end his reign of terror in Port Charles? Will he and Josslyn have to cover up the firing? Only time will tell. General Hospital spoilers suggest the Thursday, February 20th occasion will bring plenitude of drama, action, and intimidating moment as Cyrus's plot on the cleaner eventually wraps up. Cyrus Renault confessed to Elizabeth Baldwin before picking Lucky Spencer. Drew Quartermain also asked Willow Corinthos to move by, so then's how Wednesday's occasion played out. At Bobby's, Emma Drake tried to retain Josslyn Jax to make a speech at her fundraising event, but Joss had a lot going on and bestowed plutocrat rather. Although Emma was a little miffed, Giovanni Gio Palmieri helped her see that it was stylish not to push as they continued to bond. Josslyn was covering for someone, but she ultimately got another hand to take over and took off. It wasn't long until Josslyn broke in Cyrus' den so she could dig for substantiation. At Carly Spencer's place, she kissed Brennan before Donna Corinthos called out and intruded. Donna had a bad dream, so she asked Brennan questions since he'd studied psychology. Once Donna went back to bed, Brennan had to take off on Carly after getting some work-related news on his phone. Meanwhile, Drew brought Willow to the Savoy on a Valentine's Day date. Willow blustered to Drew about Brad Cooper's history miscalculations when she saw him sitting at the bar with Lucas Jones. Brad lumbered about Willow as well as he continued his evening with Lucas. Although Lucas eventually decided to head home, Brad sounded pleased over the time they spent together. Next, Curtis Ashford made it clear to Drew that he was no longer welcome at the Savoy. Willow could stay if she wanted, but the cafe was out limits to Drew. Since Drew had another surprise for Willow anyway, they both took off together. Drew ultimately showed off his new house to Willow and delivered a shock when he asked her to move by on with the kiddies. Back at Bobby's, Harrison Chase came clean to Dante Falconeri about not being suitable to give Brooke Lynn Quartermain a child and got Dante's support. Dante made a vaticination about there being other ways to have a family, but he understood that Chase and Brooke Lynn had a lot to wrap their heads around right now. At Deception, Brooke Lynn was summoned to handle an important phone call after Lulu got the Joe on the other end all rankled up. Once Brooke Lynn put out the work fire, she fumed over Lulu disturbing her Valentine's Day with Chase. Lulu acted like Brooklyn's life was perfect, and if she didn't have what she wanted, that was her own fault. Dante caught the tail end of the discussion and prompted Lulu to back off. Formerly Brooklyn was gone. When Lulu continued to grouch about Brooklyn and the perfect life she had, Dante eventually blurted out that Chase and Brooklyn just set up out they couldn't have children. At Elizabeth's place, Cyrus logged in and invited her to ask him questions directly since he knew she'd been curious about effects. Since Liz couldn't move Cyrus to leave, she asked why he tried to kill Lulu. Cyrus admitted to targeting Lulu before the ventilator incident since his drug was the reason for Lulu's liver problems. Still, Cyrus' thing was to end Lulu's suffering and take her out of that unnatural state of living. Since Sam McCall bestowed her liver to keep Lulu alive, her demise was a consequence of getting in the way of the charge. That was when Cyrus saw the path of using Digitalis to negotiate his pretensions. Although Dex Heller tried to end Cyrus' life, Cyrus claimed he'd no malignancy toward him. The real reason Cyrus went after Dex was because he was a substantiation and could have jeopardized the good work Cyrus believed he was going. It was each about the charge and doing what Cyrus believed was God's will. Liz brought up Cyrus' mama as well, so he conceded that he was worried about his mama being kept alive as a shell of her former tone. Michael Corinthos was someone differently who Cyrus tried to set free. Cyrus saw himself as someone who could help suffering victims cross over to the other side where they could witness a much better outgrowth. Liz pretended to understand, so Cyrus pulled out a hype. And hoped she'd understand why he'd to do this, too. Cyrus reiterated that he couldn't let anything get in the way of the charge and cornered Liz with the hype. That's when Lucky burst in and yelled for Cyrus to get down from Elizabeth. Lucky got into a struggle with Cyrus and decked him while Liz called 911. Unfortunately, Cyrus still managed to poke Lucky in the ham with the Digitalis hype. So Liz was scarified as she looked down and saw it. Lucky will have to be rushed to GH soon, so stay tuned for updates on this intimidating situation. All products and services featured are singly chosen by editors. Still, Soaps.com may admit a commission on orders placed through its retail links, and the retailer may admit certain auditable data for counting purposes. Well, it's eventually answer time on General Hospital as Cyrus' attempt to take Liz out redounded in a full concession and explanation session in the show's January 19th occasion. Like any good villain, rather than simply stick Elizabeth with the needle and get her out of the way, Cyrus couldn't repel monologuing and telling her who all he killed and why. The long and the short of it in Cyrus' twisted mind, he's been doing God's will. It started, he said, with him going around killing people trapped by machines and being denied a reunion with God. Lulu was one of those people, so he gave her the meds that caused her liver to fail. Also, when that didn't work, he took her off life support. She was in a coma with no stopgap, so he wanted to free her. It was all impeccably benevolent of him. As for Dex? Like Sam, he got in the way of Cyrus' soul-freeing charge. It was all veritably important aboveboard in the godliness department, he assured Liz, and she agreed. Easily, she told the hugely unstable man, he was just doing another type of mending. That attempt to stall and disarm Cyrus with charm didn't work, however, and it was left to Lucky to jump by and save Liz at the last nanosecond. Unfortunately, that just led to him being picked with the hype. As Cyrus may have just claimed his coming victim. But now, at least, we know why he killed Sam. It's hugely insane and fully out of touch with reality, but it's an answer. That, however, offers cold comfort to Kelly Monaco and Sam Suckers, and we're sure it'll just hurt all the further for Sam's family to find out what happened and why. She was, relatively literally, boggled for doing commodity kind and selfless for another person. At the end of the day, that may be just about as horrible as it gets. But with that exercise from the morning of the week of shots going off, we've a feeling Cyrus may soon fall prey to the real angel of death courtesy of whomever gets to him first.